members of the OG Army. Get those wallets unfolded. Coming up next on the OtherGround live stage, prepare for an eargasm by Passive J and Big Dalton.
Good afternoon, and welcome to yet another edition of OtherGround Live. I'm Passive J. That's Big Dalton over there. Say hello, Ryan.
It is June the 11th. It is a Thursday. And I love bad bitches. That's my fucking problem.
I see the OG Army is forming up in the chat box. I'm glad to have you guys here. How'd your day go, Ryan?
It was another fucking day. It was, it was Thursday, right? Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yes, all day. Let's address the chat box right away. I see our friend Homelander's in there, and he thinks the intro is horrible. And, well, okay, and Dalton is gay, so I'm not quite sure how much validity there is to the first statement.
Homelander's just mad that he wasn't one of the bad bitches.
Probably. We've got many things to talk about, and it's all going to be more of the same thing in the last couple of days. It's all going to be about the protests and, the riots and all the demonstrations and all the waves that are rippling out from that and affecting the world as such. You got anything you want to talk about first, Ryan? Excuse me.
Well, yeah, let's start up in your neck of the woods, as we many times do. How about in Warren, Michigan, the Amazon driver that they're trying to get felony charges for parking on the wrong side of the street to do a delivery?
Yeah. And I haven't watched a video for that, so I don't really have an opinion yet. I tend to, as you guys know, I'm a big law and order guy, so I tend to side with the cops unless I hear details otherwise. But that seems pretty goddamn extreme. I'm assuming there's more to the situation than that.
Well, yeah, it definitely is. So I have watched it. I have looked at it. So this is definitely where it's another case of cops and a person getting into a pissing contest, and the cops being able to physically restrain you and arrest you is how they win.
So I can, without even seeing the video, I could guess the cop tried to interact with the Amazon driver. The Amazon driver was less than polite. The cop became less than polite. The Amazon driver became probably less polite than he probably should have, given the circumstances. And then the cop did something he definitely shouldn't have. Did I?
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it's a situation where the cops just happen to be going by there, and they noticed that the Amazon driver did park on the wrong side of the road to make a delivery, which, I mean, they do a lot of, any delivery service does that.
All the time.
So yeah.
Well, now, or at least in my case, but I do live on a short dead-end street, so it's not actually a big deal here. I don't know how often it happens in, more traveled throughways.
But yeah, this didn't look like it was a super busy street or anything either. So the Amazon driver obviously has already hopped out delivering a package, as they do. And as he's headed back, the cops jump out of the car yelling at the guy about driving on the wrong side of the road and demanding his license. And the Amazon driver looks at him like, "Are you fucking going to ticket me for this?" Then they're going to say, "Well, I'm going to do a lot worse if you don't give me your license." So then the Amazon driver's like, what the fuck is this? So they get in the normal pissing match. And of course, the cop tackles them and holds them on the ground and arrests them to make the situation safer.
First off, never do what that dude did. Just give him your license, comply with what's going on. That's never, I mean, long term, obviously, it's probably going to work out in this dude's favor, but that's never a position you want to put yourself in, because tackling you might be the least of what a cop does. So that's dumb. Don't do dumb things. But obviously, that doesn't give the cop the right to overreact and do physical things to a dude who's just trying to tell him that he doesn't want to. I don't know. It's a weird situation. Don't you have to give a driver's license to a cop if he asks for it in a driving situation?
In a driving situation, yes. So yeah, the driver was wrong in that case, but the stacking on of all the charges so they gave him the driving the wrong way, not giving his license, obstruction, resisting. I think there's another one in there that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, not following a lawful order. Like they were absolutely just stacking charges at that point.
Okay, yeah, that makes a different situation because the point I was trying to, I guess, get to was that what does a cop do when someone breaks the law in front of him? I don't think tackling the dude was the right situation, but he has to at some point, I believe, escalate it passive verbal if he's trying to get someone to obey a law and they won't. That's a weird situation to be in. I don't know what he should have did next. What would you do? Excuse me. Would have you done, Ryan, if you were in that police officer situation?
So if I was just in a situation like that I'm dealing with a person that obviously doesn't like what I'm there to do, like I'm trying to de-escalate first.
Right.
That's just what you're trying to do. Like you don't, like everything doesn't have to be a dick measuring competition.
Right.
So jumping right to that doesn't help anyone. And obviously they were both in the wrong of that piece. I think the thing that they really get to the point where they fucked up is the stacking of charges and trying to get him like on felonies, and now Amazon stepping in saying, like, with the full weight of a like $1 trillion company, they're going to represent the driver.
Right. Yeah. So obviously a poor idea to proceed with any of that. And you're right, stacking the charges other than a parking ticket and maybe an obstruction of traffic ticket. That's really the only thing, realistically speaking, they could give him. Oh, and I guess resisting arrest, because he did. Probably. Like I said, I didn't see the video.
I don't know if I would go that. Like, cops are awfully quick to stack on like resisting an obstruction when it's more them trying to grab a dude that they shouldn't physically be detaining anyway.
Right. Now, when I say obstruction, I meant like a parking ticket obstruction of traffic. Right.
I got that. I'm just saying, like, resisting and obstruction of justice, like that's a very quick stackable thing that they do. But yeah, he absolutely deserved a ticket. I mean, you got to use some common sense too. Like, he probably actually deserved. If this would have been a good interaction, he probably would have got a warning about parking on the wrong side of the street, and everything else would be done. But that would have also involved him not immediately being adversarial either.
Right. And I guess I should watch the video because I can't really comment on the resisting arrest without seeing it. After they tackled him, did he basically just sit there and get handcuffed and shit?
You can't see that great, but like he was tackled and there was a cop on top of him. Like, it's not like he was flailing about, like kicking and screaming and shit.
Okay, well, then that's not really resisting arrest. Anything up before that point where it's just two dudes basically yelling at each other. The cop tackling the dude was his way of making the arrest. If the guy just went down and that was the end of the situation, he got handcuffed, well, then that's not even a resisting arrest charge. A resisting arrest charge would be like fighting back and trying to hit the cop in the face and trying to buck him off him and crawl away. That's resisting arrest, not what that dude was doing.
Well, like the second that a cop reaches for you, and if you even pull your hand away, that's technically resisting arrest.
Yeah.
But like, there's like a human component of that you don't necessarily always go there.
Yeah, but you brought up a good point. The way the interaction should have would have been, woo, hey buddy, you can't park on the other side of the street like that, okay? You can't park the wrong way like that. I know you're making a delivery, but you can't do that, sir. Oh, and the other side. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sorry about that. I won't do it again. Oh, and then two people leave part ways, and that should have been the end of the interaction.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it should go in a normal situation.
Yeah. In Homelander, me talking and Ryan talking is kind of the point of the fucking show, so I can't really shut the fuck up, dude.
I think Homelander's having a good one right now. He's about 80% of a Canada into this Thursday.
Well, there you go. As long as he's having a good time. What else you got, Ryan?
So have you seen these people that are lashing out against Rage Against the Machine or pulling politics into their music?
I remember being like, was I even out of high school? If I was out of high school, it was very, very recently. Listening to their very first CD. It was the very first CD I ever fucking owned. I'd taken a Ford CD player that my dad had given me. I have no clue what it was out of, and basically hot wired it into a '78 Cutlass, and it was the only CD I had for like 6 months, and it was Rage Against the Machine's first CD. And fucking, I love that shit, man. To think that people are pissed off that they're bringing politics in it is one of the most absurd things that's happened during all of this.
Well, what fucking machine did they think they were raging against? A bad toaster? Jesus fuck, it's right there in the name.
Right. I mean, do they think the rest of the lyrics to Killing in the Name of is for toast? Killing in the name of toast.
That must be something, because, yeah, like, people are losing their shit that Rage Against the Machine has political views.
Yeah, that's surprising. And, you know, if you listen to a lot of bands' lyrics, a lot of them have political views. You know, that's a very popular topic for a lot of bands, especially when you're into get away from the pop rock and the radio scene. Listen to a lot of Dave Mustaine stuff from Megadeth. He sings a lot about the military and government and shit like that. And well, shit, he's got a song called Holy Wars. You know, that's basically exactly what you think it's about. So to think that people don't want politics in their music is basically taking away a large portion of the music out there, really.
Well, yeah, like that's part of music. You end up listening to someone that resonates with you. And a lot of the reason is, oh, this person thinks like me, only they're talented.
Yes. I mean, could you imagine what the music of the 60s would have been like if they tried to take politics out of it?
I'm sure their drug-induced haze would have brought them somewhere.
They came up with something. Yeah, you know, their slides talking about Ministry and Slayer. You know, all these bands had had lyrics about some pretty serious subjects. That band, the Suicidal Tendencies, that I linked that song to you the other day because I thought it was funny, called Lovely. Basically, he's singing about the fact that as long as everything's okay with him, fuck everybody else. You know, it was satirical. You know, he's talking about the people like that, you know, one of the lyrics is, it's not a problem of society if it doesn't affect me, and I feel lovely. And that's, you know, more lyrics of the same. So I don't know, dumb people doing dumb things, dude. Basically the theme of every show we do now.
Well, yeah, we can keep building on that. Did you see the NASCAR driver that is retiring because NASCAR is no longer going to allow displays of the Confederate flag?
Nah. That's just dumb. I'm assuming he's not really highly ranked and making a ton of money or something like that.
No, I think he's won roughly the amount of races that the Confederacy won in wars.
See, I don't know anything about pay scale in NASCAR. Like, I assume you make at least decent money if they even let you drive in it, even if you never win the shit. But still, I don't know why I thought that was relevant. I guess it's not really, but that's just dumb. I feel weird about that. I kind of respect people that hold to their beliefs, but when it's a stupid belief, it kind of takes a lot of the oomph out of it. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, like this guy, like, way to choose the wrong side of history, but also maybe kudos to you for using you retiring to actually be the first time that anyone's heard of you.
Yeah. I'd like to announce my retirement. Who?
That's pretty much what it is. I've never heard of the guy. Not that I'm a NASCAR fan, but like then looked at it like this guy's never won anything.
Maybe he's, you know, I'm always really cynical about these kind of things too. Maybe he thinks that he can spark some sort of secondary career off of this since he's not doing well with the NASCAR stuff. So he's going to hope to collect the Confederate crazies all together and be their leader or some shit like that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he had to figure out a way to get more than 14, followers on Twitter.
He had 14.
I don't know. He probably had a lot. NASCAR people are pretty crazy.
I was going to say, there's a bazillion NASCAR people. It's the most popular sport in the world, according to some stats, or at least in the United States. Soccer's probably got to be still number one in the world. But NASCAR is fucking huge.
Yeah, but I didn't know
and
that you really had that many Twitter users in trailer parks.
um, there is, I think, Wi-Fi for all, motherfucker. Now, I've seen all of the jokes going around about this as well. Like the people were saying, "Don't worry about it. They're still going to allow the Civil War's other flag be waved," and it
The
shows
white
the white
flag.
flag, the waving. Yeah, I'm like, that's cute. I just don't understand why they'd have such. I'm not from the South, so bear that in mind. I apologize to anybody who holds these beliefs, but why would you have so much invested into the history of a war that you lost? I just don't understand it, dude. Um, some guy, uh, some guy beat me in a race the other day using a Tesla SUV. I believe I mentioned it. I'm still bitter about it. I'm trying not to think about it. I certainly don't want to erect monuments to the fact that the guy fucking beat me. It's horrible. I don't know why they do that shit.
Yeah, you're going to need an
I mean,
Elon shrine moving forward, Jay, and just
yeah,
accept
apparently
that.
so. That you're right. That's exactly what it is. I'll need to build a shrine to him, and that will make me feel better about my loss. But that the entire pulling down monuments and statues in the South thing, it's accelerating. They're doing it all over the fucking place. In some places in the North, like they did it. This wasn't like a Confederate thing, but they pulled down a Christopher Columbus statue in Columbus, Ohio,
Yeah,
which seems
fuck
kind
that
of
dude.
odd. And yeah, that doesn't bother me since the guy's an asshole. So I'm betting the next step is they change the name of the fucking city. Won't that be wild?
Yeah, I doubt that one's going to happen.
I don't know, dude. You can see how far you push them. I mean, I never thought that there would be like a demilitarized zone in the middle of Seattle run by a bunch of hipsters wearing, glasses with no glass in them and skinny jeans. But apparently that's what's fucking happening over there right now.
Yeah, Latte City is kicking some ass apparently.
I can't believe that. I mean, the series of events that led to it just amazes me. The police abandoned one of their precincts. I never know in a million years thought that would happen anywhere in America at any time, that the police would abandon their headquarters. Well, I think it's just one of the precincts as well as opposed to their headquarters, but they would abandon one of their posts and get the fuck out. Did you, dude? A year ago, did you think that would happen anywhere in America at any time?
You never know what the fuck's going to go on in this country. But like, yeah, they
Yeah.
took over a couple blocks there, and they're just kind of doing their thing.
Yeah, and excuse me, and I have no clue what's going on in there, and I hesitate to trust reports because everybody has their own take on things and their own slant on things. So almost everything I read is either ridiculous on one side or ridiculous on the other. And but some of it has to be true. Like they claim they're not letting they're searching people on their way in and not letting anyone who has guns in. They won't let reporters in. There's reports that there's a black guy with a gun who's taken over because he's the only guy with a gun, and fucking he's claimed that he's going to be the police now, and he's having people stop and frisk people, and and then there's rumors that they're fucking shaking people down and this, that, and the other. There's so much going on. I have no clue what, if any or all of it, is true or not.
See, everything that I've seen, and usually I'm halfway decent at kind of looking at the sources first. It seems like it has all been relatively peaceful and relaxed. I don't know if these like people taking over because one person has a gun thing. Like I don't know if I buy that story.
Yeah, I think something might be something in the in the middle of it. There might be a dude out there who's shaking people down because he knows he can get away with it. But I don't think they've named him their police chief and all, and he's in charge because he's got a gun and all that shit. But on the other hand, that could be true. There's so little real facts coming out of there right now because they're controlling the situation. But like I hear reports that they're having trouble getting food and things like that. But I don't see how that could be true. Fucking just, then I saw a report that they said that they will let Uber Eats in to deliver stuff. And I don't, some of it's so crazy. It sounds satirical and fake. So I don't, but I never thought the situation would exist in one shape or form in any way,
As
We
long
live
as
in a
they
crazy
have,
world now.
as long as they have a Starbucks and a artisanal, organic, vegan flatbread pizzeria, I think they'll be just fine.
Speaking of Starbucks, I was surprised to see it's been in there since last year, but I very rarely go into that part of the men's locker room. They installed a Starbucks machine, like a real fucking Starbucks machine, like an automated one. You go up, it's got a touch screen, and you hit the buttons to get whatever It's they only have it set up for like 3 different coffees, and I think like hot chocolate or some shit like that. I only hit the coffee button because I'm not interested in all that foo bullshit. But I was amazed. I was like, wow, we have automated Starbucks. That's fucking cool. I
Well, do they
normally I
really
don't
give
go.
you the experience though? That do they, say some just stupidly millennial, no ballsy type of thing, and then misspell your name on the cup?
Well, probably not. But I'm
Well, it's
sure
not
if
a
you
very good
asked them
machine.
to.
Then they should probably fix that.
See, normally I don't do that. Normally I get kitchen from the coffee.
Yes, I
Normally I
get
get
kitchen from the
coffee from.
coffee every day.
That's right. Normally I get coffee from the kitchen, which is where the majority of members get it as well, because that's what's served in the dining room when people order coffee. Uh, it's horrible, by the way. I can't believe these rich people drink this coffee. But I've been drinking it for 15 years, so I'm kind of used to it. But because the kitchen wasn't set up yet for the last week or so, I've been sneaking coffee from the men's locker room. Don't tell anybody.
Your secret's safe here, Jay. I don't think we have many Jewish mobsters that tune in to the old show on the PodBean.
Right. Probably not. Oh, what else you got, right? And I have not had to touch my subject so far. You're so full of things today.
Mostly shit, but yeah. So have you heard the new feature that may be coming to Twitter, where if you
No.
are going to retweet an article, it's going to warn you or bring up like a message saying, "Hey, before you share this, you might want to actually read it first."
What, I mean, like a generic one, or is it going to be for specific sorts of tweets?
No, it's going to be any article that you go and you just blindly retweet. Before it'll allow you to retweet, it's going to pop up and be like, "Hey, before you retweet this, do you want to actually read it first?"
Will it have some sort of detection method to tell that you have not indeed clicked on the article?
Yes, that's what's going to drive it. It's going to see that you're retweeting a link or an article, and if you haven't actually clicked on it, it's going to pop that up and be like, "Hey, dumbass, before you just blindly share this, how about you read it and decide if you actually want to put your name behind it?"
Ah, yeah, that's a good idea. Facebook does something kind of like that, I've noticed, although I stopped seeing it after a while. It might have been just for a temporary thing that they're trying out, where people would post links about stuff, and Facebook would tell you, yeah, that's not true. Yeah,
Well,
like
yeah,
people
Facebook did
dying or
stop
different.
doing that after like they just started, making a shit ton of money, being that it's a campaign year, and campaigns kind of like to lie, and liars'
So
money
basically,
is still green.
oh, really? Is that why they stopped doing it?
Yep.
That's bullshit. I like that feature. It saved me lots of time because I have that horrible habit of when I see something that I don't think is when I think it's kind of suspect that one of my friends have posted. If I have time, I'll go ahead and do the research and find out whether it's true or not. And then I take great joy in telling them, yeah, that's not true. That didn't happen. uh, and then watching the results. It's a lot of fun because you get all kinds of different reactions from your friends. Of course, you get the expected ones like, "Oh, really? Oh, shit! Sorry about that, man." I'm like, yeah, do some research, dude. That was obviously fake. To people that want to defend their fake articles that they posted, I'm like, dude, read what I just posted, okay? Then they're like, "Oh, well, that's not true at all." Okay, look where I got my source from and look where your source is from. Okay. Mine is from AP, the Associated Press. Yours is from That's News
Fake news, bro.
International.
Fake news. Fake news, bro.
Right.
Well, here's the thing,
and some,
right? Like,
yeah.
so we have reached the point in our history where we're getting awfully close to idiocracy, where anything that you don't believe or anything that you don't support, you can now just say is fake. Like number, statistics, anything else that doesn't fit your worldview, it's been made acceptable just to say, no, that's fake. That's total lies. And you can actually use that as a defense.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Come on. Facts are facts. There's all kinds of facts I don't like. I don't go around telling people that they're not true. You know what? I wish I could fly. That would be fucking awesome. I don't go around telling people gravity's fucking fake.
Gravity, fake news, bro.
Fake-
Mainstream media
Yeah.
has told you that you cannot float, so you just don't float, bro.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's the sort of that. Thank you. That's a really good way of quantifying the argument. That's exactly how they are. Just because you don't like something, that doesn't mean it's not true.
Exactly, but somehow it's become acceptable to say that.
Yeah, well, goddamn, dude, I think we should rename our show. Our show should be something to do with with dumb people doing dumb things. I don't want the actual show to be that because it implies that would be us.
Stupid people are dumb. A retrospective.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much stuff going on today. I actually have a ton of topics too, and we're already halfway through the show.
Well, before we
Did you
even
see
get there, like, and this is just another
shit,
funny
you got
one,
more?
and we were talking about Elon Musk,
Yes.
and while he may be just a flat out crazy idiot who named his kid something absolutely that you shouldn't do and he should be kicked in the face for it, he's also useful for some nice, like, gut laugh when he does really silly things. So there was this article that was out there about Boeing, and they said in that article, and this was like retweeted by whoever the article was for, but Boeing comes out and says that they're going to beat Tesla to Mars. And you'll never guess what Elon Musk immediately replied to that post with.
Oh, I'm sure it will be well worth hearing. What is it?
Do it, pussy.
Really?
Yep.
He really did, and that wasn't like some bullshit fake account or anything like that. That was his actual account, huh?
Yep. He does shit like that a lot. Like, I have to respect that part of him. It's just like, yeah, do it, pussy.
Yeah, that's see, I have mixed feelings about the guy because I like a lot of his ideas, and I as I've mentioned, I'm fully for space exploration. But then he'll do stuff like like after use his submarine to rescue those kids in that like water cave. If you remember that when that happened.
Yep.
And then when like one of the divers there said, "Dude, that's fucking stupid. That will never work." And you know what, that wouldn't work. Then the guy, Elon Musk, proceeded to call him a faggot or something like that on Twitter.
Yeah, sometimes he doesn't necessarily think through these things so well, but I mean, that's part of the beauty of this, right? Is like, this dude is the mad genius that just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, that's very true. It's crazy like that. He's got so many interesting ideas too, and some of them are just so weird. Like the tunnel he built, it's like a 3-mile tunnel from one part of it, basically from one part of his headquarters to another, or some shit like that. And it's such an impractical idea, but he had that idea and he wanted to run with it and test it. And even I could have told you, like, yeah, dude, you can't really build tunnels underground everywhere. That's not going to be very practical. But fucking, he still wanted to try it, so he went ahead and tried it.
It's actually kind of cool. So I watched it was one of the Jay Leno's Garage episodes where he got to try out the prototype for the Cybertruck.
Oh yeah,
with Elon Musk, and part of that test drive, they took him through that tunnel, and it's actually really kind of interesting, the idea behind it. And especially like when he starts talking about, like, so the idea of these tunnels, and there would be like places you could pull off and like all of these other things. So beyond just the demo of the idea, like, it makes a lot of sense for a place like LA if you had these tunnels that were essentially only there for like true autonomous cars. So in the Teslas, you could go in there and you could just go into that autonomous mode, basically pick where you need to go, and you just drop down in here and go. So there's not like traffic going both ways. You're not going to run into people. Like, you pretty much just get to point A to point B.
Oh yeah. I saw some articles about it. It's a great idea. It's just the execution of it is not really practical. It's one thing to build a subway line from one spot to the other, like they did in New York, but to have a series of them crisscrossing the city, I mean, it can be done, obviously, but is the payoff worth it? At what point is it just too much to do?
I would say almost it is. Like, if you think of the subway system in New York is relatively complex. Like, you can get damn near anywhere in that city via the subway system. and he's basically building that just for cars. Like it makes traversing New York City easier than almost any other large city in America. Yes, like if you're traveling at 1 a.m., you're going to see some interesting people in New York City. But as far as going down there, like every time I have to go to New York City for something, I'm just going to drive down to like, and people might not know this part of the country, but like I'll drive down to like New Haven or Stamford, basically the part of Connecticut kind of right before you get into New York State. Just hop on a train there, take it directly to like Grand Central in New York City, and like I can get anywhere in the city relatively quick and not want to kill someone.
See, I've never been to New York, so while I obviously know about their subway system, I have no clue about the complexities or anything like that. The only thing I know about it is one of my favorite stand-ups called it Rat Game of Thrones. He said it's a lot more fun interacting being in the subway if you think of it that way.
Yeah, it's not really like that terrible and disgusting. Like, yes, like depending on where you are, what time it is, it can get a little sketchy, but yeah, I would much rather have to get to different places in New York City than try to get around LA.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
it's
LA
absolute garbage. Or even getting around like Chicago. Like, and it's not, at least it is a relatively like large city, not in population, but like just the size of Chicago is pretty large.
Right,
so getting around there shouldn't be terrible. Like, again, I would rather pick getting around New York City than any of the big cities.
See, Chicago, my only experience with is on the way through, we got stuck on the way back from Nebraska, we got stuck in a pretty bad traffic jam there. I don't know if there was their regular rush hour or what. So we ended up pulling off the highway. It was right in downtown, and drank in a bar for a couple hours to wait for traffic to die down.
And that's the point of having that, like, you know, like the way that New York has it, that underground system is that can't really get, you know, stopped up by traffic.
Right. Yeah, and that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I guess when you speak about it, I'd never really thought about how complex New York's subway system must be. Which means, God, can you imagine what it would have been like in New York while they were building that? I've seen pictures of it. Basically, they just dig out the fucking thing right down to the subway and then build it back up again. Obviously, they couldn't do that method in L.A. because I think the Musk guy. The Musker, I think he actually built like some sort of digging machine for it too, as well, didn't he?
I'm sure he did. He is a mad genius, so that's his thing.
Yeah. Didn't he make a fucking flamethrower for sale or some shit like that? Is that the same dude?
Yeah, his God, what is that company called? Like the Bland Corporation or Boring or whatever.
Yeah, just wanted to be able to make one, and he'll sell it to you. Now he'll sell you one just because he can. Yeah, that's so fucking crazy. Speaking of crazy, did you see they're canceling Cops, dude?
Yes, they're canceling Cops.
PD.
Well, so and I ran into an article about Live PD that they're kind of questionable. So, and I don't remember the name. I don't have an article in front of me. I don't do like you, Jay. But there was an instance where Live PD destroyed the audio and video recordings of an interaction where somebody in police custody died.
Oh, yeah, I saw something about that, yeah.
So fuck them. So there is the defensible part where they said they waited until the investigation was over. But again, this is a cop's investigation of themselves. And then they destroyed it. Like, there was no offer or ability to give it to the victim's family for a civil case or anything like that. They were just like, well, we got our ratings. Probably want to stay on the good side of the cops. Guys, can we just move forward our destruction of that tape there? Just stop before he dies.
Now, the only way that there's a really good defense to this is if they routinely destroy all of their footage afterwards, which in this day and age of digital storage, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that's likely?
Probably not. Most people that are in the content creation business, they're backing up everything from basically forever. Because who knows? Yeah, who knows 20 years down the line if they want to do, like a a best of compilation or the never before seen footage of things.
That's a good point. Yeah, that'd be the exact sort of wording. Scenes you've never seen, too shocking for normal TV. Yeah. So yeah, that seems kind of questionable. But cops never did anybody no harm. Cops have been around fucking forever. Cops is how most people get introduced to police in the first place. Poor cops. Cops didn't do anything wrong, dude.
If you go, so this is kind of interesting. Like, yeah, I remember, like, it always used to be on, like, I think right before The Simpsons, like years ago. Like, think of that contrast. But if you watch some of those old TV. Cops episodes, like, there was some questionable shit that went on in some of those.
I stopped watching them way long ago. So I don't really remember a lot about them anymore. Most of them were fucking boring. If I remember correctly, because they wouldn't throw any of the really crazy action stuff in there if they encountered it. Because it was on primetime TV. You couldn't show a cop shooting a guy 4 times because he drew a gun on him. That wasn't going to happen. Mostly you saw people getting pulled over for like traffic infractions and then end up going to jail because they had warrants for this, that, and the other. There's very little action in the actual show.
Man, what I don't get is why they never got like, cops with with any sort of communication skills or like, or any sort of charisma at all. Like, Tenor, why were you not on Cops?
Yeah,
I mean, that shit would have been entertaining. Like, you could have been driving through, like, bumping some Wu-Tang, singing along.
Yeah. And every single person getting pulled over thinks it's Charlie Sheen pulling them over. They're like, wow, am I on, like, some sort of blooper show? Or is this like Steven Seagal, Charlie Sheen secretly been a cop for the last 20 years?
I said, like, they could save the show. Just...
Yeah.
Give Tenor a reality series. They can watch him pounding the pavement, and then they can watch him pounding the leather shorts. Maybe even tag along while he works on some bicycles.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
See, and there's been all kinds of shows of that nature. Cop shows. They're just not called Cops or something else. Like there's Cops up in Alaska. Like the state troopers up in Alaska. That's actually a pretty good show. I like that one. Then there's Cops on the Border, but it's like Border Patrol Police. There's at one point there's even a cop show in Detroit about like the ICE. That wasn't on very long, I don't think. There's a bazillion types of these cop shows out there. Are they going to cancel all of them? Am I not going to be able to watch Alaska State Troopers anymore? Is because all cops are bad? This is starting to bother me, man. I think cops are getting unjustly. Everyone's like, defund this police department and do that and do that. I still believe the vast majority of cops are good people trying to help out society. And if nothing else, this is going to discourage people from wanting to become police. And what's going to happen then? We need them. Police are an essential function of our society because there's always going to be an element of people that are looking to take advantage and hurt other people. We need people around to prevent that. Yes, I can understand the structure might change. I guess that's what some people mean by defund the police. But whatever structure you have is going to need money. And I'm just worrying that we're going to make it to the point where no one wants to be a police officer anymore.
Well, that's the important distinction is people don't understand the difference between defund and unfund. Like, those are two different and completely different meaning words. Defund is you give them less money. And the idea behind that is you're giving less money to them, but then you up the budget for things like mental health counselors and shit like that. So you end up being able to take a lot of the bullshit things that cops have to deal with that they really shouldn't be dealing with, and you actually have experts go deal with those things.
And that's an interesting concept. I like parts of that idea, but I know there are police departments out there that you can't afford to defund. They need the money they have just to do the actual parts of their job. Lots of police departments out there, from what I understand, are not funded enough. A lot of them have old equipment and shitty cars and things like that. I know that varies a lot from city to city, but the idea of unilaterally, doing it across the board, regardless of the situation, seems like a bad idea.
Well, yeah, and I'm not condoning just ripping apart budgets. I'm saying where you can intelligently do that, like a lot of the large cities where it is like the number one line item for expense by like multiple. I think I saw, and I'm trying to think of the numbers, which is why I'm stumbling here. I think it might be Miami, where it's like 2 or 3 times the next closest thing on the budget. Like in those cases, there's a lot of fat there that you can trim and be able to, again, like I said, like I'm not saying take power away from the police or anything completely limp-wristed like that, but take away a lot of the things that get dumped on them. It's like this is something we've done for quite a while, right? So like all of the other things that you can just kind of eliminate from a budget and is a pain in the ass to deal with gets dumped on the cops, where they might not be the best people to deal with it.
Right.
Where you have things like mental health checks, and a lot of times they have to do what like animal control should be doing, and all of these things that if you just funded the right agencies, they could take those things back, and they should take those things back, so cops can actually, you know, go out and do a real job. Like you talk about, like, you know, Tenor comes on here and talks about things like, you know, like community policing, like actually getting to know the area that you're technically supposed to be, you know, serving. Like being able to do that shit and not have out of your, you know, 10-hour day, 3 hours of it being shit that cops shouldn't be dealing with.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And a couple good examples of this. I think a lot of this problem, one of the major problems anyways that the police have, is because back in the 80s, they defunded mental health institutes. I don't know what the exact law was, but basically they decided that it wasn't a government problem, which meant anybody whose family couldn't afford to put them into a private facility no longer had a place to go. Like I assume insane asylums, because that's what they basically were not a great place to be, but they served a needed function to take care of people who lacked the mental facilities to do themselves and did not have others to care for them. I remember back in the day, there was a place called Clinton Valley Insane Asylum that was in the city of Pontiac, and it was built in the 1800s or 1900s or something like that. It was really super old. Well, back in the 80s, when Ronald Reagan made this decision that the government was not going to take care of these people anymore, it closed. And the vast majority of the people in there became homeless folk. You know, they just opened the doors and let them out if someone wasn't willing to come and get them, because there was no place for them to go. And the ways from that have affected, I believe, a large portion of like the homeless population in Pontiac, where it's fucking crazier than normal for years and years and years, and probably still are. And that sort of thing happened across the country. All these people that needed mental health care became homeless. And that extends right out to today. If you have severe mental health problems and your family can't take care of you, you become the police's problem most of the time.
Well, yeah, and so this comes up all the time in like the Second Amendment debates. There's a lot of people that are staunch, like Second Amendment people, will say 100%, like, we don't have a gun problem in this country, we have a mental health problem. But like, where are they advocating increasing, you know, government spend on mental health?
Right.
Like,
right.
no one does that. Like, it just ends up being this forgotten thing that now all of a sudden cops have to deal with. Like, there was that autistic guy that ended up getting killed by cops. Like, if you had someone that understood like how to approach that situation, and this wasn't like a call of some autistic person like running amok and like attacking people, it was by like his family or his caregivers saying like, you know, he's having issues, we need someone to help, and he ends up dead.
Yeah
And I'm not saying that the cops were like, okay, fuck it, let's shoot this autistic dude. But like, they weren't properly equipped to be dealing with that situation. Like, there should be experts in that field that are going and doing that.
Right.
Like,
right.
we're putting our cops in a position to fail and things like that. Because I'm sorry, they don't have the time to be, you know, they don't have the time to go get a 4-year degree in that area and then also come back and be a cop.
Yeah, that makes you're right. We're putting them in a position that they shouldn't be in. And I see in the chat box, Homelander was mentioned in New York. That's how it pretty much was 40 years ago, which is when this happened, really, in the early 80s. And some of them were closed before that. So, oh look, he's gonna call in. 1 second. Welcome, Homelander. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, Jay?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. Hey, Dalton, but I understand what you're saying, and I agree, but how would you implement that? You're talking from a federal level.
Well,
it's a mess, dude. That's the problem.
Yes, it's a mess, but like we can't keep just pawning all of our messes on the police force. Like at some point we need to change it. Completely. And yes, it's a very difficult thing to do. And there are people that are experts in those areas that can give a much better step-by-step how to implement these things that I could ever prescribe to do. Like at some point we got to do something, right? We can't just keep kicking the can down the road.
Well, I agree, but I posted in your thread. I don't remember what the thread was called. I don't know. It was about the shooting in Louisville.
Oh, the Breonna Taylor thing? Or is this a different one?
Yeah. No, it was that thread. People, if they want to advocate for criminal justice reform, they should be upset about the court system and the judges and the prosecuting attorneys. There had to be a judge that signed off 5 times for Breonna Taylor's no-knock warrant. And it was a detective that applied for that 5 times. But so 9 guys kicked down her door. I'm not saying that those guys were innocent or that they didn't know what was going on or that they didn't have a connection to the detective, any of that kind of stuff. But it's kind of like going after the frontline drug dealers, but not going after their bosses, like in the cartel. It'd be like going after the guys actually dealing in LA and in Texas, name a city, wherever, Arizona, New Mexico, but not going after the guys that actually are in charge. It's just going after the frontline workers. So if you're going after quote unquote corrupt cops, you're just getting the frontline guys. You're not getting the people that are actually behind the shit.
Right. Absolutely. I agree.
That's a problem, man. I've known a lot of judges. They weren't judges when I first met them, and things evolved. I don't know a judge at the county, state, federal appointed level, any of those people that have gotten where they are without doing backdoor deals, shaking hands. In my opinion, they're all unconvicted felons. And everyone's blaming the frontline police force, which don't get me wrong, there are a bunch of fucking pricks that work the front line of the police force, but there are a lot that just do their job. So to blame them is kind of pointless. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're just going to be replaced.
Well, and especially in that situation, right? Like, so you have those 9 people doing a no-knock warrant, end up getting shot at, they spray fire back. Like, it's hard to say that any of those 9 people should be arrested or fired or in jail, but the entire idea of a no-knock warrant in that situation was fucking stupid.
The thing is, put yourself in that position when you were 24, 23, 25, whatever, in your mid-20s. I was a pretty physically capable guy, and Dalton, obviously, you're a badass. But, put yourself in that position at that age, and you're geared up, and you got people smacking on your head, being like, yeah, we're going to go get this guy, or this guy's a piece of shit. We're going to go bust this door down, SWAT before dicks, although it wasn't even SWAT in that case, just to throw that out there, Dalton. It was fucking unmarked, unclothed fucking cops.
Ooh, they were naked?
Down the door and killed a fucking innocent person. Huh?
Oh, you said they were unclothed. I was trying to picture that.
No, my bad. They weren't wearing SWAT clothing or anything that would indicate, if you look through your peephole, that they were police officers. All they knew was somebody was beating on their door. Somebody beats on my fucking door. If I got people in my home with me, yeah, I'm gonna come up blasting. Fuck them, and I'd probably get killed just like that. That guy didn't get killed, but his partner did. It's bullshit. And it's totally different than what happened in Minneapolis. And I'm not minimalizing what happened in Minneapolis. That guy should not have had his fucking throat kneeled on for 9 minutes plus seconds. It was bullshit. But getting your door kicked in with a no-knock warrant at the wrong address is completely fucking different than that. And that was wrong. So how fucking wrong is what happened in Louisville? And I've been in Louisville a lot of fucking times. And yeah, it's a dirty fucking city. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out. Somebody's rubbing their shit against a microphone, so I guess Jay's about to flip out because I'm talking too much.
That was my
Look,
cock.
that's not me. That's
Oh, tenor's on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I was on this podcast, probably in the first or second week, calling for a reform of police tactics as far as defensive tactics go. I said back then, and I stand by it, and I always stand by it, that a cop should have to obtain and maintain a blue belt in jiu-jitsu in order to be on the fucking road, man. And obviously I'm biased because I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, or I was at one point in my life. So I've called for that for fucking years. I've said that an escalation of force does not need to go as far as it does most of the time, because fucking a lot of cops are undertrained and they're fucking pussies. So what they do is they escalate the fucking use of force because they can't handle themselves in a use of force situation. A lot of times, I'm broad stroking it. As I
you are.
He's a thick boy.
I agree with that. I agree with that, Tenor, completely. But then you come back to the same thing always, and that's a subjective evaluation of who says they're a blue belt.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah,
you always come back to that, and that's a problem. And then so an instructor gets pressure and he's making money. I'm not trying to be a dick here.
You turned into a transformer.
Yeah. Oh, I did? The fuck?
No,
my
you're
mic
fine.
okay?
Hey, you sound good to me.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Tenor, you get a guy that's getting a lot of business in from whatever PD, doesn't fucking matter. Whatever city he's close to, he's getting a lot of business in. Then suddenly after 2-3 years, it's his main stream of revenue. So 2/3 of his volume of students are coming in and they're PD. And suddenly he starts flunking guys and they're not passing because they're fucking inept or fat or whatever the fuck reason. It doesn't really matter what the reason is. That's beside the point of this, discussion. They start failing. He starts getting pressure because that's his main revenue stream to pass these guys. It's how everything happens. It's just, all I'm saying is I don't think that that's like a quick fix. And I'm not saying that PD is the problem. In fact, I'm kind of on a different page from Dalton because of my life experience and my knowledge and people that I've interacted with. So what I say doesn't necessarily apply to a lot of other people, but prosecuting attorneys and the fucking court system are my problem, not police. Now, police could have been my problem if I'd grown up in a different area, I suppose. And when I say police, I mean law enforcement. I understand that saying the word cop is pretty much the same as saying a frat guy. Although 99% of the OG doesn't get that. Is that not right, Tenor? Isn't calling somebody a police officer a cop? That's kind of derogatory towards, at least in the Midwest it is. Maybe it's not there. You're in a free speech
they
area.
went over that a little bit in the academy. They went over the whole cop thing as being derogatory, but my boss for many years, who just retired for 10 years, he calls himself a cop, and we're fucking cops, you know what I mean? So I never looked at that as a derogatory term by any means.
No, it's cool, but I mean, if
how do you feel about cop?
I'm sorry, Jay, go ahead.
That's all right. I
We
just want to
got
know how
a
he
delay
felt.
here.
I want to know how he felt about Kappa Lapa Crime Stopper, because that's what I always called him.
I have no idea
yeah.
what the fuck you're talking about.
God
Jay.
damn it, Jay.
Kappa La- I don't. When I see ever see that police, I'm like, oh fuck, Kappa Lapa Crime Stopper.
Yeah, I can't
That's not
speak on that.
derogatory, is it?
I can't speak on that, but my wife did coin a term. We
Oh.
were driving by a, I don't know, just maybe a Target or something. It was a grocery store or a store with a parking lot, and there was like 3 or 4 cops in there all talking. Must be they had just got off a call or something. They were shooting the shit, and she coined the term. She said, "What the fuck is this? It's a goddamn apocalypse."
Kappa lips.
And I thought that was pretty fucking inventive by her.
That's funny. But I'm sorry, Homelander. I interrupted you with my lame joke. Go ahead.
No, dude, go ahead, man. I've
No,
talked too
that-
much already.
No,
That was it. That's
you
all
know,
I had, man.
I try not.
So-
I try not to.
So what Homelander is saying as far as prosecutors and judges and shit. So yeah, you would definitely. I don't know if you've heard anything about the bail reform that we had in New York State, but that's exactly the type of shit that you're talking about. However, that was it was a bunch of defense attorneys that proposed this bail reform, and now you can't. Honestly, dude, I don't even know how to fucking make an arrest in New York State right now, man. You don't even understand the hoops I have to jump through to make a simple violation arrest. It's unreal.
I know. Yeah, but that's not even what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm talking about judges, backdoor deals. I've known a lot of judges at the local level, at least where I live. They're politicians. They're attorneys that run for local, whether it's circuit court or superior court, 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever judge position. They're politicians. They all fucking do backdoor deals. All of them. All of them. I've been in the rooms. I've been at the bars having drinks with them. And people complain about the police. The police are just the frontline people that you deal with. It has nothing to do with them. The prosecuting attorneys, the judges signing off on warrants that have no business being signed off. I know a judge that was a prominent circuit court attorney that signed off on a lot of fucking warrants from his house. He lived out in the country. He was about an hour and a half away from the closest place where they could actually draft a warrant and drive it out to him. He would go out in his driveway and he would look at it and he would decide within several minutes whether he was going to sign it or not. So I can only imagine, and I'm not from Kentucky. I don't live in Louisville. I've been there a lot of times and I've spent time there, but I can only imagine that the 5 times that judge signed that no-knock warrant to that detective that brought it to her, the circumstances under which it was signed. And throw the fucking Minneapolis shit out the window. Somebody was killed that was minding their own business in their bed. Their fucking door was beaten on 5 times. They didn't know who it was. It was a no-knock warrant. It was people in in plain clothes that beat the door down. How would you react back? And she was killed. Now, that isn't to degrade the police department. At least I would guess 7 out of those 9 people had no fucking clue what was going on that were beating down that door. They were just doing their job. So what's wrong with the system? Well, the system is that somebody got to go to a fucking judge's home, most likely. From my experience, I could be wrong again, but it's printed in the AP, which I'm not exactly prone to believe, but it's printed mass wide that 5 times she signed the no-knock warrant. Well, if she signed it one time, she should have looked at that as a judge and made a decision instead of just signing it based on what somebody told her. And that's not a reflection on the police department. That's a reflection on the judges. And that's where my problem is, because that's where my experience has been.
Well, for sure. But I mean, if you look at the instances that the public is having with the police and the fucked up shit that's going on, what's the percentage of it being on the prosecutors or the judges? You can't take the onus off of us on the front lines that are doing this shit, that are leaning on necks, that are fucking shooting on our people.
Yeah.
And this fucking stuff happens. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I happen to be on that side of things, but I'm also a fucking realist, and I see the flip side of the bad shit that happens. And where we get fucked up is, so we take 1 or 2 or 3 or however many bad instances that we have with the public in a year or a month or a week or what have you, and then it makes all the instances where we were justified come into fucking suspect. You know
Absolutely. What I mean? Yeah, I completely understand that, and that's absolutely true. But that's where you're doing your job. You got hired, you got trained, you do your job, and I know so many people that were attorneys that have become judges, and how much they changed. I know a dude that was in his late 50s. He was ready to retire. He'd done some really good court work as a defense attorney, was ready to retire. He was a pro tem judge for probably 12, 13 years. He became a judge, got elected in one of those bullshit midterm ad hoc fucking elections where some dude stepped down and one of those things. I don't know. Is that something that's totally unknown to people outside of the Midwest? I'm not. Just out of curiosity.
I couldn't speak on that. The only thing I know about judges are the ones I meet through my job, and they seem like nice people. But obviously, I'm talking to them and the attorneys in a social setting as opposed to a legal setting. So I don't think I have quite the experiences with them that you have.
I appreciate the help, PJ. I'm guessing you're handing them keys to a golf cart.
No, mostly making reservations for them.
All
Telling them when that dining
anyway,
room opens, shit like that.
Anyway, going to lunch with them 2 years later, the individual I was sitting across from was totally different. They're fucking egomaniacs. Anybody that I have instantly 50% less respect for somebody that becomes a judge that was a defense attorney. And this is a guy that told me to my face multiple times that he thought nobody should be a judge if they hadn't been on the defense side of counsel. This is a guy that did criminal and civil work as a defense attorney. Anyway, judges, from my experience, and I've known a lot of them, and granted, it's a small sample size compared to most, and it's mostly in the Midwest, but they're egomaniacal assholes. I don't have a problem with police officers for the most part, although I've been treated unfairly at times by them. I've been treated really fairly at times by them. They're just people. They're the frontline workers for this shit. It's the prosecuting attorneys that you elect in your county and the judges that really matter. But nobody is complaining about that. Nobody's throwing a fit about that. I suppose because they're elected as opposed to just hired. So you don't have a foundation to complain about them.
Right, you did it to yourself,
well,
so to speak. Yeah.
And you also don't hear about them as much. Like, you have the stories that come out here and there.
Though, but that's the thing, Dalton. Like your thread that I posted on, I don't remember what it was called, but I pointed out, yeah, you got a point. You made a lot of points in that thread, but you should be way more angry at the district attorney or whatever the title of the prosecuting attorney was. Anyway, the person that fucking signed, and then the judge that signed 5, I believe it was 5. I live pretty close to there, but I'm not in Louisville. I try to stay away from that shithole. But the judge that signed, I believe the judge signed 5 no-knock warrants for that detective that brought him to the judge. And I'm not sure that detective could have possibly been one of the 9 people that knocked on the door. I don't know. I didn't look that deep into it because, honestly, I really don't care. But anyway, 8 of those 9 at least weren't the people that signed that document that swore before a judge, blah, 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 and got the no-knock warrant. So where did that judge and where did that detective get that responsibility, that authority, all of those things. That's what people should be protesting about, not the fucking frontline cops.
Right, and there's no
Anyway,
recourse for those people either. Like, you can't
No.
just go arrest a judge
Dude,
or a
the
DA
fucking
for a bad
detective-
warrant.
Dalton, that detective got transferred. That was it.
Yep.
But you know what's going to happen? The protesters and the people bitching and moaning about people's names are going to get 8 of those 9 cops, police officers, tenor. Those people are going to get fired or transferred or God knows what, when the blame should be on that judge. But you know what? I'm pretty sure that's a white female. Judge Shaw. I'm pretty sure she's a white female. I'm not 100%. I'm like 95%. You'd have to look her up. Yeah, no blame's going to come on her. And Detective Rains, whatever the fuck his name was, I don't remember. But I'm sure that, yeah, he probably won't get any fallout from it. It'll be the people that actually pulled the trigger. Which, how would you feel if you just showed up to work? You know, you're like, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, you're going to be on this assignment today. You get tasked on it. You get thrown out with 8 dudes. You get prepped. And all of a sudden, you pull the trigger that fires a bullet that kills somebody based on a no-knock warrant that was at the wrong address for the wrong person.
Right.
That person isn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one. I do not hold those officers in any sort of ill regard. They were literally doing their job. They got shot at. They shot back. Like, anybody in that situation would have done that. So if we're ranking or talking about these situations, this one is a terrible one, but this was the system failing, basically society. You have Minneapolis where it was a cop
Absolutely.
that failed.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't necessarily the system. And then you have ones that are just flat out, no, totally judges failing. Like in Utah, the guy that had like 14,000 like videos and pictures of kiddie porn that gets, you know, like 18 months.
Yeah. Well, my question is, why do judges, especially judges, because I've had a lot of interaction with them, but attorneys, they're just getting off in this whole deal. Everyone's complaining about the police officers. Complain about the fucking judges. They're the scum. Every judge and I know a lot of judges, Dalton, for real. Like, no bullshit, no OG bullshit. I know a lot of them that I've sat down and had drinks with. They are unconvicted felons. They've all done backdoor deals. They've all shaken hands. They've all done things to advance their career. They are the scum of the fucking earth. And the thing about attorneys is they are your best fucking friend or they are your worst fucking enemy. There is no middle ground. If you've ever been in court, there are probably like 1 out of 100 people listening that will listen to this podcast that understand what I'm saying. But if you know them, they're your best friend. They're the greatest person in the world. But if they fuck you over and they go to the other side, they are the most evil motherfucking piece of shit to ever walk the earth. And that is the criminal justice system. It has nothing to do with the police officers. It has to do with the criminal justice system. Just like Dalton, I don't know what thread we were in, or maybe it was a podcast. I can't remember. But yeah, never mind. I don't remember.
Yeah,
so I'm not going to try
actually.
to make,
We probably should wrap it up around right now. Anyways, I've got pills to
Oh,
take.
we
and shit like
we
that.
overdue, Jay.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sorry,
dude,
Jay.
I'll tell you what.
I
if
ran
you
it
guys,
over.
I'll tell you what. If you guys have 10 or 15 minutes worth of talking, I'll just mute my microphone, and go do my shit. I just don't
No,
want you guys
man.
to end the show while I'm off doing shit.
No, I wasn't looking at the clock, Jay. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Yeah, it's all right. I want to thank you for calling in, dude. It was a really interesting discussion. I want to thank Tanner for calling in as well. I want to thank Sly Dog.
Tanner, you still there?
No,
He ran away.
Yeah. I want to thank
Okay.
Sly Dog for calling in, even though he never actually got a chance to talk. Also, as always, I want to thank the OG Army for showing up. We can't do a show without you. And my co-host Ryan. Ryan, what you got?
Yeah, so a couple things I think I want to give kind of final thoughts of what we were just talking about.
Certainly.
Like, I do completely agree with where Homelander's coming from, and one of the most frustrating things that we have as a society that actually pays attention is, yes, we have judges that are complete scumbags. I'm not going to say all of them, but there are definitely ones out there. And the problem is, for the most part, there's no recourse available for this. The other thing is you do have lawyers, and I'm specifically talking about DAs here, that make people's idea of the police even worse than it should be, because they're the ones that will refuse to prosecute the quote-unquote bad cops, the ones that actually deserve it. And there's no recourse on them either, for the most part, except obviously at the ballot box. But who really does research and pays attention to who's going to be a DA if it's elected position where you're at? And then finally, there are piece of shit police as well. Obviously, the mass majority are not. And I think I would caution people in every one of these stories that we see, decide where that blame lies. Like, is it that police officer that fucked up, like Minneapolis? Is it the system that failed, like the victim, I guess I would say, like in Louisville? Or is it a situation where the criminal is absolutely the one to blame? Just be smart in what you're doing.
Yep. Very good. What else you got, Dalton?
Second thing, and let's go ahead and call this the final thing. Fuck all y'all.
Everyone have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 6.
Later, Jay.
Later, homie.
Screw you, hippie!